Hi, everybody. Thank you, Ifat. I'm so happy to be speaking with you today. It's such an honor. Really looking forward to this conversation. So, my name is Yaara Segal. I wear a few hats when it comes to Israel in the international arena. Formerly worked at the Israeli Foreign Ministry for 7 years. Nowadays, I advise mostly international NGOs when it comes to Israel and or Middle East, specializing on the Abraham Accords angle, which we'll get to. It's my favorite topic and our topic of a day. And in a nutshell, before what I do today, before what I'm doing today, I was working in the foreign ministry for 7 years. I started as my role at the Israeli consulate in Los Angeles, where I fell in love with diplomacy. I've been for two administrations, not full ones, but part of the Obama administration, and then later on the first Trump administration. And I just was able to really see how much potential there is when it comes to the Israel-US relations in different aspects, how much can be done. And that really opened up a whole new world of opportunity when it comes to diplomacy. And basically been focusing on those aspects as well since then. Later on, when I finished my role at the consulate, I had joined, shortly after I finished my role at the consulate, the historical Abraham Accords were signed in September 2020. The ministry called me back and they asked me to join and open the Israeli embassy in the UAE, which what I call winning the diplomatic lottery. And I immediately said yes. And it changed everything about the route of what I do and how I do things and the way I view the region as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about what all of it actually means in a minute. I'm just going to wrap this up before we do. And since I finished, so I was in the UAE for a year and a half, shortly after the Abraham Accords were signed, between the summer of 21 and the end of 22. And since I finished the role there, I had dedicated most of what I do to educating and talking the more as much as possible about the Abraham Accords and having more people know about it, how we can maximize it. Of course, I started before October 7 happened and everything was kind of reshuffled, of course, like everybody else afterwards, but still this is the focus.
Amazing. I am so looking forward to hear from you. Could you explain to some of us that we don't know anything? I have no idea what we're talking about. So I want to learn from you. What is Abraham Accord? What are we talking about?
Well, it's the single most important thing that happened in the region. I would even say ever, but let's talk about the last few decades for now. And technically, let's start with the technical meaning of the Abraham Accords. What it is a series of normalization/peace agreements between Israel and Arab Muslim countries that was brokered by the United States in 2020 with the first Trump administration. Excuse me, I'm just a little bit under the weather. And this happened in 2020. Israel signed first, it was with the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain in September of 2020. And shortly after that, Morocco in December of 2020 also signed an agreement with Israel. There was the whole Sudan aspect as well, which we won't get into today because Sudan initially, there was a signing in January of 21, but then they had their own internal political problems and it was kind of frozen. So a lot of it has not developed, unfortunately, but that also happened. So that's essentially the core of what the Abraham Accords mean. And when we talk, that's the base. Now, whenever people hear President Trump and his administration talk about expanding the Abraham Accords, what that means is that they're looking for other Arab Muslim countries to join. We recently heard about Kazakhstan, that sort of officially joined the Abraham Accords, even though Israel did have already a good level of diplomatic relations with them beforehand. But the more the merrier. We don't say no to peace agreements and to being a part of something bigger and that contributing to regional peace. So we're happy to welcome them into the Abrahamic peace circle. So that's the technical term of it. In actuality, what that means is the Arab Muslim world accepting Israel as part of a region, officially accepting Israel as part of a region, meaning that it's acknowledging that Israel is the Jewish state, that Israel is that the Jewish people have the right for their homeland, for self-determination, and that we're part of the region and working together and living together in coexistence and peace and prosperity. And in actuality, that is what I experienced in the UAE, and I can't wait to tell you more about it. But I just want to know if beforehand you have more technical questions about it, or was that a clear explanation of what the accords are?
Yeah, so it's an agreement, it's a normalization or peace agreement that is led by Donald Trump and the United States.
In a sentence, correct. And to add to that, it's not just a peace agreement. It's first of all, it's a series of agreements, and secondly, it's the most influential thing that happened in the region in the last decades, because it changed the way that the Arab world is looking and interacting with Israel, whether it's economically, culturally, and so on and so forth. So it's a game changer. And it was signed 5 years ago, and it has already done more than what I can think about our region in terms of like moving forward of living together in coexistence in a very long time.
So just to put it in a little bit in context, since Israel existed in 1948, the Arab world, the entire countries of the Arab world, all of them decided to ignore us as a state. Is that correct?
Well, it's more of an they try to erase or make us a non-state to take us back. It was more than just ignore. They fought us, of course, time and again. Yes, that
Yes,
is
but
correct.
between themselves, they were all in agreement that we shouldn't exist and they should do everything in their power to make that happen. And now, just after we have such breakthrough with the Abraham Accord, suddenly October 7. Is there any parts of you that you think that October 7 is a reaction to the huge progress that we're making with Abraham Accord?
Absolutely. It's unfortunately it's a very big part of why October 7. In terms, especially in terms of timing, and maybe also in terms of how it came to be, in terms of how many and the whole Iran behind backing this and helping make this happen. So what does that mean? It means that throughout the history of the modern Jewish state, the Arab countries, they were all in agreement about Israel's status in the region, which should not exist. But then slowly, yes, we had the peace agreement with Egypt in 79. We had the peace agreement with Jordan in 94. These were, and were and are still a lot of extremely important coordinations and relationships here between Israel and these countries. But unfortunately, these are still very cold peace agreements meaning the relationship between Israel and these countries. We don't travel to each other very often versus what we're doing in the UAE and Morocco, of course, and Bahrain also. So that piece is very different from the Abraham Accords. And just to get back to your point, the reason I mentioned the peace with Egypt and Jordan is because, yes, we had peace with them, and that was major progress. But still, the overall consensus within the Arab world is that Israel is a problem. Israel is, an apartheid state that is wronging the Palestinians, and if we accept Israel, then the Palestinian issue will never be resolved, and so on. And the Abraham Accords completely changed that equation, and it was so successful that it actually made the Palestinians, although they were often invited to initiatives when it comes to the Abraham Accords, I was involved with a lot of them, and I saw for myself the invitations that were sent to them, to join in some of these initiatives, and they were alarmed that the Arab world is moving forward without them, that that the Palestinian issue is being forgotten, meaning like no more is it going, and the moment that we know that everything exploded is when Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, was on Fox News 2 or 3 weeks before October 7. It was mid-September, but he came on Fox News and had an interview and said loud and clear about how close they are to normalizing relations with Israel. And he was very clear about it, and he didn't blink. So that really, and signing a normalization/peace agreement with Saudi Arabia, that's it. The Palestinians knew that basically it's a game changer that there's no going back from. For them, like again, like a healthy mindset would be like, this is great, more peace, let's join in, let's have more, let's also have peace, let's maybe this is a good time now that the region is opening, maybe it could influence for the better for everybody, including us. We can join the peace party, as my ambassador Amir Hayek in the UAE would say. So yes, absolutely, the timing was very close to when Mohammed bin Salman spoke about normalizing relations with Israel, and basically the Palestinians, Hamas, have decided this is the moment we're going to pull the trigger.
And what happened since? Do you think that they succeeded to actually hurt the process, or what do you think?
The answer is yes and no and yes. Meaning, but I'll address your question. I do, though. Before I do want to go back to the experience in the UAE, because it's a very important one. I want people to really hear. I wonder, who from your group, who here, has been to either one of the Abraham Accords countries. What do they know about the Abraham Accords countries? Have they interacted with people from the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, and so on? Because also people from Saudi, by the way, there's a lot of openness there, even though, again, formally things are at a standstill, but there's a lot of openness there and willingness for when Israel is, when we'll get to stage B, in what capacity, in the sense, with a great consideration to the Palestinian cause and so on. But there's a lot of opportunity there. But just to say that I really urge anybody and everybody that's been but doesn't know about the countries to talk to people, to look to, and I'm happy to help facilitate this, to reach out to people from that region, to have conversations with them. I recommend going, because it's an experience of a lifetime. It's an incredible experience. You will love it, especially people who are Jewish. They are, and go to the United Arab Emirates. It's an experience that there's nothing else like it. They have a Chabad there. They have kosher restaurants. They have kosher supermarkets. There's a synagogue. There's the Abrahamic Family House, which is an incredible structure that is an interfaith. It's kind of like it's very symbol for interfaith harmony, which is a structure that with three buildings, but each building they look alike. One is a mosque, one is a church, and one is a synagogue, and it's incredible, and it's all about the interfaith and religious harmony. It's amazing. So, just to say that after having lived there for a year and a half, it's beyond what everybody's thinking, in the sense of how sincere and incredible those relationships are. There was a pure, authentic curiosity from both sides, excitement from both sides to get to know each other. I'll take a step back even. The day that the United Arab Emirates have announced about normalizing relations with Israel, that was August 13, 2020. I remember that day I was sitting in my office and at the Ministry of Regional Cooperation. I remember the announcement. That day in the evening, we did not go to sleep that night because Israelis, Emiratis, Moroccans, people from all kinds of places around the Arab world, we all got on Zooms, and because finally we could. Before we couldn't because the government in the, in our Arab countries, if you don't have diplomatic relations with a certain country, then you're blocked with the internet. But finally we could. We all jumped on Zooms together that night. Before the signing, just the declaration about normalizing relations, there was so much excitement about finally being able to visit each other and talk to each other and get to know each other. And of course, I'm not saying that everything's perfect and if there were no challenges, plenty of challenges. But the good news is that there was as much enthusiasm when there were challenges. So it's just very important that people know this. It still exists. It just, it's much harder nowadays to be public. There are a lot of brave, courageous voices out there that are speaking up on social media or media, but it is, oh, you're looking at the Abrahamic family house. It's gorgeous. Yes. Worth the trip. Please go. But to say that they're still this did not disappear. This did not disappear. It's just more sensitive to be very vocal about it and to be very public about it. But I assure people that there are a lot of. I have so many good friends from the UAE, from Morocco, and other countries as well in the region. That are all working very hard on getting back on track. So what was the question before?
Just how much damage did they do? Because they did October 7. I mean, a lot of Israelis understand the October 7 attack as a way to try to stop the Abraham Accord.
Right. Well, so the question we'll divide it into two. So the first answer is that thankfully the Abraham Accords, the original current Abraham Accords have not been damaged in the sense that no country from the free Abrahamic countries have canceled the peace agreement with Israel, have even threatened to cancel the peace agreement. They didn't say, if you'll do this, then we'll stop. And even more so than that, the United Arab Emirates, they're the only country that throughout the war, not even the United States, not England, none of the other countries, only the United Arab Emirates, they did not stop flights from the UAE to Israel even one day. If you remember, all the other airlines outside of El Al, they all canceled flights. The UAE didn't, not even for one day. So that's very important to understand. The trade did not stop. They didn't tell the tourism also. They didn't say, you can't come in here. You can't come visit us anymore. Tourism slowed down because of all the sensitivities and also Israelis weren't really, going out on vacation very much. But nothing was like closed for Israelis or anything like this. So just to say that is very good news because that was a critical time, a critical moment for the region. And that's why I say throughout all of the last 5+ years, I mean, of course, before we've had more challenges also prior to October 7, and I recall a few of them, but obviously October 7 was the biggest one. It's literally the one light, part of hope, the one light that I see in this darkness. And I say to people, I try really, it's hard. I'm not saying it's like, again, I'm not saying that there's a tornado here in the region right now. It's very, very, very difficult to find something good to hold on to. But there is. And I say, look at the Abraham Accords, talk about the Abraham Accords. The more you talk about it, the more that the Arab countries hear you talk about it, they understand that it counts, that people are paying attention, that people care, that they know that it matters, that those choices matter, and it only will help expand and expedite some processes that seem to be stuck right now. Not saying it will make it or break it, but it will help expedite. the more we talk about it, the more awareness we bring to it and the significance that it has. I will also add another optimistic aspect of the Abraham Accords since October 7th is that, because of a situation in Gaza, it's been very difficult and challenging to be able to move around aid, whether it's health-related aid or when it comes to food, nutrition, anything like this. So the Abraham Accords countries have received more access because of the special relationship that Israel and they have. They received more access than other countries because we have already such a strong relationship and bond and trust and level of trust. So thanks to that reason, the United Arab Emirates, for example, is the country that is donating the most and is able to transport the most aid in terms of field hospitals, in terms of excuse me, in terms of medicine, in terms of having children from Gaza come to the UAE to get treatment at their hospitals as well. All of these things are very much thanks to the channels that the Abraham Accords have created and the trust that has been built between Israel and those countries. So those are some of the good, more optimistic aspects. With that, yes, there's been many challenges. Of course, Saudi, the normalization process with Saudi is currently at a halt, and we'll see where. By we, I mean the bridge building community here. We're very much trying to work behind the scenes and have conversations and dialogue, and we do know that they haven't said no. We're not. There's no chance anymore. We're not doing this. We're letting that thing go. But what they have said is that they need to see a solution for the Palestinians before we move forward. So that is something that had changed in terms of their rhetoric, in terms of their conditions to moving forward. So we'll need to see how we're working that out with Trump's plan that was put forward in October, I believe. Then this was, he built a very smart plan in terms of steps there's some sort of a middle ground there in terms of we're not yet talking about complete Palestinian statehood, but we are talking about gradual steps for Palestinian independence if they'll do all of the following in terms of radicalization and changing the education system and not, the pay for slave that they pay for terrorists and so on. So that is a very smart plan that, just now with the big challenge of moving to phase B, which is where, the international forces are supposed to step in. And that's another conversation basically, but hopefully we can find a way to move forward to the next step, and that would also show some signs, will signal some signs to Saudi that we're hoping to move forward as well.
Yeah, amazing. It's so interesting to have this conversation because we had over than 80 conversations so far, I think, and we never heard something so positive. In terms of administrations and government. I see Norman doing like this with their head. It's like, it's true because this is the future. I mean, if we have any chance of...
Yeah, look, I have so many, I have friends that are, and I travel to abroad, like I do briefings abroad often. I'm based in Israel and I go every other month pretty much. And, most of my colleagues, most of my friends, they're going through their own challenges with anti-Semitism and things like this from another direction. But it's very hard. I'm not saying that, I'm saying that, okay, yeah, there's the Abraham Accord, so we're good. Don't worry about it. It will be okay. No. I'm just saying we have an anchor. We need to, first of all, know that this anchor exists. The ship yes, it's going, but we have this anchor. We can use the anchor. We need to use the anchor. It's not just we can. We need to use this anchor and know what it can, like the security and bridge that it can give us. Because from there, it's a starting point. We're not starting from scratch. We're not starting from nowhere. We have a base to build on. We need to go back. It's very hard. We're all traumatized. We're all crushed. It's hard. Some days it's harder than others, and that's okay. Not every day can be like 100%, but we have to get up. There's no other option. We have to get up. We have to work with our allies in the region and abroad. And of course, the United States, which has been extraordinary in terms of its support to Israel since October 7th, always, but especially since October 7th. And there are allies and partners in this region who are signaling willingness all the time. All we need to do is to look and listen, because it's out there. Like I can pinpoint right now, like from the top of my head, to at least 10, if not more. It just really depends on the month, because each month something else happens, if not every day. But they're out there and they're willing to work with us. Of course, we're not going to like everything that they want. They're not going to like everything that we want. That's okay. But there are partners to work with. So it's been very challenging, mostly because also, like, I'm being honest, and I'm not going to go into Israeli politics right now. It's pointless. But that's been very challenging in terms of moving forward. Yes, strategy, no strategy. What is the focus, even? Things like this. So that, but when things will be a little more focused here in Israel, which hopefully is sooner than later, there are partners to work with in the region. And because thank God I had that experience for a year and a half, because I've seen how authentic it is. I've seen how authentic it is, and nobody can convince me otherwise.
That's amazing. Just one last thing before we're gonna start with the Q&A, guys. You can start voting with the yellow hands. Every time we speak about what's happening in the West, I have the feeling that the anti-normalization rules, policy from the Middle East, from the Arab countries, is immigrating to the West.
Mm.
That what BDS and others are doing is taking rules that are right now forbidding. For example, like you described, the internet doesn't work unless you have diplomatic immunity. You can't even Zoom with people from Arab countries unless you have Abraham Accord, unless you have normalization. So this entire process in the West of removing Israel from FIFA, removing Israel from Eurovision, removing Israel from City Council, etc., all around the world, is basically turning the West into what the Arab countries are leaving behind them in a way. The normalization, anti-normalization is changing place geographically. Do you ever seen that?
Have I noticed it, you're asking?
Yeah.
Well, sure, absolutely. It's kind of hard to miss. Yes, when I had to say it that way, but I say, when I go to the UAE, I feel a lot safer than I do in many countries in the West, and it's true. And in terms of even like wearing the David Star or things like this, the short answer is yes. But it's unfortunately, it's not news, but it may be the extent of it is. I think we are all overwhelmed with how much everything exploded all at once, meaning because we had the shock of what happened here, and then we had everything at the same time. Things happened like in the West when we are the ones that have been attacked. We are the victims, and we are still being blamed for what happened to us in a very major way. And I think that is the most overwhelming part from all of this. We can't even, people here and in the States, Jews of the diaspora, they can't even grieve. They can't even like have a moment. They're immediately being attacked. If you support your people there, then you're this and you're that and you're genocidal and all these lovely words. So yes, of course, I've noticed it. Unfortunately, both Israel and I would say to an extent also Jewish diaspora have failed in the sense of noticing the gravity of what has been happening for 20 plus years, In the West, when it comes to money from, very bad actors in our region, being funneled into not only the education systems, which we know about, and unfortunately, it's now also in not just the colleges, not just universities and colleges, it's also in elementary schools and high schools. So that's horrific and still hasn't been handled. But that's its own thing. But they have steadily and surely infiltrated all the internationally acknowledged institutions, the United Nations, the ICJ, the ICC, all the women's rights kind of organizations. I remember when I was in Los Angeles when was the Me Too thing exploded? Was 2017, maybe 18? Even back then, we couldn't march with them in the streets to support if you had a David Star or something that was like, I'm a Zionist. We were not welcome. And this was before any big thing happened. We were just, regular times, whatever that means for Israel. So there has been a consistent failure of recognizing how deep this situation has gone, and how wide it has spread. And they were ready for the moment when either an attack like this would happen or just something very dramatic will happen in the region. They push on the on button and everything is ready. So yes. And also, I would say this is just as urgent to take care of and handle and manage and strategize over as what's happening here in this region. I'm not going to compare what's more urgent. They're both extremely urgent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I want to say thank you especially for Norman. Norman is editing the videos
Thank you.
of Boaz Link, and you were a guest there, and this is
Uh,
Norman. He introduced you to us, so we're very grateful, Norman. Thank you. You want to take the first question?
so Dan, Norman.
Yeah. Yes, thanks, Yaara. It's an honor to have you here.
Oh, my honor, really.
I've got a couple of questions, really, and one of them might have come from Soraya Dean, who I see has got a hand up. But what impact do you think Somaliland might have in terms of the Abraham Accords? Also, we speak about within the Abraham Accords, we speak about the Arab world, but we have allies elsewhere, and I'm thinking in particular, Soraya, with about South Asia. Is there any reason why any country in the world couldn't sign on to the Abraham Accords?
What do you mean? Is there any reason why they couldn't? I'm
Well,
not. Yeah.
I mean, is there a geographical or geopolitical reason why they couldn't sign on to the Abraham Accords?
Yes. The easiest way of explaining it is mostly at home opinion, people's opinions on Israel. That is the first thing to say, because a lot of these countries, either they are kingdoms, and it's not always very stable, and they need to really keep in check how their population is feeling about different things that they're putting forward, especially when it comes to Israel. And some of the countries, it's a lot of domestic internal politics. So if it's not a democracy, often people could, turn against their own governments and or leaders. So there's a lot of that sensitivity, and that's why I'm going back for a second to the Saudi aspect. That if Saudi, in fact, would have signed the agreements when they wanted to in 23, then that would have been a game changer in the sense that, like a domino effect, most likely. So, because they are the most influential, I wouldn't say most influential, that's also very sensitive, but very extremely, they have a great significance in the Arab world. And having them sign signing to the Abraham Accords would give a green light to the vast majority of the moderate Muslim world to join.
So their proviso about some kind of recognition for Palestine would be equally important.
Their what for Palestine? Sorry?
Their proviso that there must be some kind of recognition for Palestine.
Mm-hmm.
It's equally significant for every other country in the region.
It is in a sense it is. I mean, it is again. It's in a way it's like going back a couple of steps, right? Because it's not a place where they haven't been in the past in terms of their willingness to move forward. Basically, they were already there at some point, and they had softened in this to a place where they said we'll sign with Israel as long as there is a commitment to the Palestinian cause in finding a solution, meaning they haven't used the word statehood just right before October 7th. But now they went back in terms of the terminology and saying there needs to be a sovereignty type of solution to the Palestinian cause. So are the others aligning? That yes and no. Some yes, some no. Some are just waiting. Some are just not saying anything. It's a big world out there when it comes to the Arab world. Are we looking at the signing document?
I'm just at the U.S. Department of State, the Abraham Accord
The
place.
declaration?
Yeah.
Mm,
Go ahead, Shelly. Thank you so much, Norman.
thank you.
Thank you.
I was wondering, you said that there's a lot of interest towards us, and I was wondering, one, how much is really interest towards us and how much is maybe fear from Iran or hatred or dislike for Iran, and that's why they'd rather they choose us. And the other question is the level of education that is needed. I heard that in Saudi Arabia they changed the history books, etc., to be more or less anti-Semitic and anti-Israel. And I wonder if you know of other countries that are changing maybe their textbooks and teaching their own population that we were here first or something, or that we didn't
Yeah.
steal anything from anyone.
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that question because it touches on a point that I forgot to mention, which is very important about the UAE. That another thing that they're incredible with is that they have, after the Abraham Accords were signed on International Holocaust Day, they commemorate that day. They have official ceremonies around across their country, with minister level officials attending. And in 2020, it was either 2022 or 2023, probably 23, that they even had a Holocaust survivor come to the UAE and speak and tell about her, what happened to her, share the story about what happened to her to the Emiratis and international community that was there. They also have a museum in Dubai that has a specific exhibition that is all about the Holocaust. So it's been there since the Abraham Accords, maybe even a little bit before, and they have also made a commitment to also teach about the Holocaust in their educational books. They definitely had changed the language in their educational books when it comes to Israel. When it comes to Morocco, for example, for them it's a different story, right? Because they have a long history of having a Jewish population in the country. There are a lot of Moroccans in Israel. I grew up with a lot of them, and you know they're very, although they're not big in numbers. There's only I think 3,000 Jewish people living in Morocco, but they're very much a part of the society. And what I know from people from in Morocco, that it is the Holocaust is being taught. I don't know if every school, but yes, in international schools and some of the public schools. In terms of language, the answer is there's changes happening, not fast enough, not especially, again, there were a few declarations both from Morocco and Saudi about the educational materials. Oh, lovely. Thank you for the lovely pictures. So there's educational materials to be changed in the schools, but after October 7th, because again, there's so much sensitivities, so that process has slowed down as well. How much has been implemented in their schools, I don't actually know. I know there is an intention, and gradually there is some, but I'm sure but there's a lot of work still to be done there. But some of it has been done, and I would say the United Arab Emirates is a leader in that as well.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Leslie.
Hi, thank you very much, Yaara. Why did the UAE decide to normalize relations with Israel? What was the impetus for it?
Great question. So the UAE and Israel have had non-official relations prior to I keep saying October 7th when I say Abraham Accords, prior to the Abraham Accords, at least like 20 years, dating 20 years back, that we're allowed to talk about after signing the Abraham Accords. But there was some security cooperation already happening. There was also economic collaboration happening. So there were different cooperation happening between the countries anyway. It was just not public. But slowly within time, things that the country has prepared the people, basically the leadership of the country has prepared people living in the UAE to slowly having the idea of normalizing relations with Israel as a very legitimate and a good idea that would be good for everybody. And the leaders of the United Arab Emirates are just it's a very young country. They're only 54 years old. So since they were established until today, they're a leader in what is called tolerance and coexistence in the region. They are not just talking about coexistence and tolerance towards, faiths that are different from them, religions that are different, people who are different. They are actually modeling this in everything that they are. And again, because of the reason that, this was not the reality with Israel, let's say 20 years ago, is just because the reality in large was very different 20 years ago. The way that the Arab world was perceiving Israel and, acting with Israel was very different. So slowly, there was collaboration and working towards a day when things could be ready for normalizing relations. And also the situation on the ground, it's not a secret in terms of the threats in the region have changed. The Iran threat is very much a real threat to all the moderate countries in the region, for Saudi as well, and other countries as well. So there's both security, it makes sense both security-wise and also in terms of just who they are and what they are about. So they very much practice what they preach, and they preach tolerance and peace, and that is who they are and what they basically did when they signed the accords with us.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leslie.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Soraya.
Thank you, Ifat and Yaara. I just returned from Israel. We had a 2-week Yes. So we took 30 Muslims. And Yaara, whatever said and done, I think part of the problem is the Muslims. Part of it is also, solution is also the Muslims. So a big part of it. That is why Abraham Accords is so important. We started a brand new initiative where we came together and we want to look at this conflict through the Abrahamic values. For instance, Jews and Muslims were cousins, they are monotheists, they believe in justice, and we've gone through a lot of values that the Quran has, and also that is very aligned with the Jewish values. So we are trying a new particular initiative to bring people together, saying, hey, we can't do this with our Abrahamic brothers. We are all one. I wrote an article on that, and I will post it for you, Yaara. But my
Please.
bigger question is that in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, we saw so much coming together between Arabs and Jews. And I was at the National Library, it was Islamic Culture Week, and there were like 50 Arabs in hijab bringing their children, and all those things we don't see or hear. But what we need to hear is something more concrete about what's happening with Palestine. When I say we, it's the Muslim diaspora, because we know what their concerns are and we know what they have to say. Everything about that, I know it's difficult to say something, but that some verbiage is needed from Israel to really appease the Muslims so that they get on board. Otherwise, this rift is getting deeper and deeper, more so in the West. The Western diaspora Palestinians want this sinister. So my concern is, you also said there's talks about doing something with the Palestinians. What does that look like?
No, there were. I said prior to October 7, in terms of the different initiatives and collaborations that were very much in the works, at the high of the Abraham Accords. But I just want to backtrack to what are you exactly saying about what's needed? Because I want to address that specifically. You said something about the problem is the Muslim, but also the solution is the Muslim, and we need to know more about what's happening with Palestinians. So what exactly would you like me to address about all that?
Yes, the day after, what is going to happen to the Palestinians? Are we saying these are the plans that Israel will have, or because leaving it all to the Palestinians, in my opinion, is not beneficial to Israel. Israel, and those of us who support and stand with Israel, it has more to lose, So a good faith effort to show the world, hey, this is what's happening. Palestinians need to do this, this, and this. This is what we are willing to collaborate if they do this, this, and this. I don't know whether others have seen that dialogue and that particular plans. I have not. So I just.
I understand. Okay.
Before you answer, Yaara, sorry, I'm gonna not let you go there because this is a very charged subject and it's not the issue of the day. Today we are just gonna speak about, I'm sorry, Soraya, but maybe we can have a separate session just for that when things will be more solid in that sense. But I just want to wrap it up about the Abraham Accord because we have only 10 more minutes.
Can I say one thing about this?
Okay.
I'm sorry. I know you said I'm not. I don't. I just want to address one little point about it. Okay. And I hear what Soraya is saying, and I know of Soraya very well. So I mean, I'll just address it very quickly and say that has been the problem for a very long time. I mean, it's been a part of a problem for a very long time. It's not about whether Israel will keep saying this is Israel always keeps saying, no, look, this is what it's really like. And we're not really trying to kill people. Like, believe us, here it is. Here's the camera. Here's the news broadcast. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're offering. Here's how much aid that's going into Gaza. They don't, like, the vast majority of either the media outlets or international, organizations, we don't really want to hear. So I don't think it's about Israel saying these things. Yes, there should be a plan, and that is, like Ifat said, a whole other discussion, correct, and that needs to be addressed 100%. That's the part that I said I won't touch on in regards to Israeli politics, but that's what's lacking is a big part of it is also the response, like having the Palestinians more accountable also with help, support, and so on to their own faith, to their own destiny, to what's going to happen to them. We can get aid, we can get help and support and so on and so forth, but it can't be that all the fingers and all the eyes are always looking at Israel asking for answers. Those days are no longer. Also, I'll just say one more sentence and I'm done, we'll move forward, but one more sentence is people keep asking and wanting and questioning Israel like it was on October 6th. This is not the same Israel. This is not what people don't understand this. People here are not the people of October 6th. You can't want the same things you wanted from Israel back then. Now, it doesn't exist. We're not the same people. It's not the same country. We have a lot of the same problems, but we are not doing the same things anymore. So, wanting Israel to just like agree to things that they used to, that's not happening anymore. So I'll just end with that.
Thank you. That was a
Thank
very
you.
nice way of saying that. So each and every one of us here want to know from you, what can we do to support your process as someone that promotes the Abraham Accord? What are the simple ways that we can help?
The best thing you can do, and I really hope you will, is talk about the Abraham Accords with, like, you're out there, you're in the field, you're helping, you're reaching out to people, whether it's your neighbor, whether it's your congregation or your local church, your elected official that is like in the city, a city hall or Congress or what. Ask them and talk to them about the Abraham Accords. The more you talk to them about it, the more you ask them, what can you, well, not to your neighbor, what can you do to support it? But yes, a congressperson, yes, a mayor, yes, a congregation and or a church, how could you help? Have more discussions about it, raise awareness about it, and share on social media. That's where things are. Ask questions, go visit, so you see how real it is. But before anything else, talk about it, because the more awareness there is about what is this Abraham Accords that people keep hearing Trump talk about whenever he's on stage talking about international affairs. We need more of these voices. It's an urgent thing. There's an urgency to it. So the more you talk about it, the more you share, the more you ask questions, the more that it will echo to hear, and there will be a snowball effect in a good way. That's a great, that was a very good day. By the way, there's a quote that I adore by the foreign minister, His Highness Abdullah bin Zayed, that you see here in this picture on the right, next to Trump, that he said on the day of the agreement signing. It's on my computer, but basically I'm paraphrasing, but he's saying that real peace requires patience and knowledge, patience and consistency, in order to endure. And he said it like in a much better way. I have it on my presentation, but basically the reason I'm bringing this up is because this was on September 15, 2020 at the White House. And 5+ years later, these words are as strong as they've been on that day before all of this happened. And just so people understand, this is not an easy thing to do. There is so much pressure, there is so much sensitivity and heat that the governments of the Abraham Accords countries are getting from their people. What about the Palestinians? What about the Palestinians? Why are you talking to this genocidal people? And they are really standing strong against all these words and all these complaints against it. So it's a very important thing. Like, we really need to acknowledge that.
So it's very different, just to sum it up with 5 more minutes, it's very different than the Oslo Accord, right?
Yes. Sorry, maybe I
No,
should.
it's okay. It's okay. I just wanted to clear it in the ears for those who don't know the difference. Could you,
In 5 minutes, that's ambitious.
in 2 minutes, just
Yeah.
the big lines?
Look, the Oslo Accords were very, very specific. They were, unfortunately to say, failed accords that don't know why we're not being reinvented into something different, but that's another topic for another day. But the Oslo Accords were, an effort made for an agreement, peace, or an agreement, not peace, let's go with agreement between Israel and the Palestinians, with is Israel recognizing, the right for the Palestinian having their own independence. On the Palestinian side, it wasn't as reciprocal, but it was to some extent. And since then, there was supposed to be the agreement was that there will be joint efforts from both sides um, to find a way to coexist and build a lasting, like to coexist and live side by side to a situation that will lead to a two-state solution. But it more than failed because since then we've seen the terror just escalated in huge numbers, and we had intifadas, and the Palestinian leadership is it's its own discussion, but that's been a very chaotic and unstable reality. Also, Israel did not handle a lot of it very well in terms of cooperation with the Palestinian side. So some things we've done well, and lots of things we haven't. But yeah, at the time it was with Arafat, and Arafat was a very dangerous, very not trustworthy terrorist, basically. And yeah, it failed miserably. When things move forward with the Palestinians, it will not be on the base of the Oslo Accords. So there was no. I guess I would sum it up with, when it comes to the Abraham Accords, they happened under circumstances of genuine want and intention for coexistence from both sides and accepting each other from both sides. When it came to the Oslo Accords, there was no real intention from the Palestinian side. And I'm not saying this because I'm saying something bad about the Palestinians. It's matter of fact, because they had every opportunity for these agreements to be successful if they wanted, their own states. They had multiple options on the table to move forward with it. And not just that, just supporting terrorism. Just to imagine, God forbid, something like this would come from a country, it would never from any other from the Abraham Accords countries, from the UAE, something like this. If you see one terrorist, we take care of it that day. So it's a world of a difference. The intention, I guess, is the bottom line. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Yaara, for bringing us into this world of Abraham Accord. We were not familiar, I think, at least not in the community. We never talked with anyone from that universe. It's so much lighter and filled with hope, and it's really like a Christmas tree or Hanukkah, bringing the light into the darkness of Jew hatred. Yeah. So this is really the most hopeful thing I think we heard here. Can we follow you personally online? Do you have social media?
Yeah, of course. It's my handle is just my name. It's Yaara Segal, Yaara Segal. It's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn mostly. It's mostly LinkedIn and Instagram, I would say. And yeah, anytime. Seriously, please bug me. Please ask me questions. Please reach out if you'd like to, get in touch with people and see how you can help and get involved and talk to people from there, or go visit there. Anything that comes to mind, please reach out. I please, like there's never any amount of like questions that is enough. Like the more the merrier, the better. we need this. We really need to come together and really raise awareness about this. And again, I'm not saying that this is all that everything is fine. It's far beyond from fine, and this is why it's so important, because things are not fine, and we need to take care of them.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Yaara.
Thank you. I really hope I was able to contribute here in understanding a little more. There's a lot more to say about the Accords, but I'm glad we had this conversation very much.